This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everyone. I'm going to say it again. I've said it so many times here, but it's so true, and probably one of the most important things that you could hear today, and that is you need to heal. Now, I know a lot of people hear that and say, "Well, I didn't smash my hand with a hammer. I'm actually doing fine. I don't need to heal." And yes, you do. And that is from things in your past, whether they were in your childhood, much of it was, or later in life, situations presented, it made a mark on you, and it's kind of in the files of your mind that we need to clear out there and move your life forward. So if you're one of those people saying, "Yeah, I'm kind of stuck," or "I'm not in the relationships I want to be in," or "I'm not professionally at the point in my life I feel I deserve to be at," probably we got to work on the healing part of that. Energy healing is one great modality that can get that done. There's also many other ones, including something that she's going to share with us called resonance repatterning. And this is what she does as the owner of Holistic and Alternative Healing at Holistic Healing. Gabrielle, I'm going to make sure I say this name right, Poverchuk. Am I saying that correct?
You said it correctly, yes.
All right, we're off to a great start. Welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Hello.
Wonderful to have you here. I'm just going to say
Likewise.
that energy healing, game changer for me. Once you realize it, you accept it, and you see the beautiful changes that come from it, it's like walking on a cloud many times. I got to tell you.
Yeah.
And we're going to get to resonance repatterning in a moment. But when it comes to energy healing, what are some of the things that you help people with? Well, how do you support them with that?
Oh, so energy healing. Thank you for the great introduction. That made it a lot easier where to begin. So energy healing helps on all levels, honestly. Um, Let me gather my moment here. It can help with your goals that you can't fulfill. It helps you with anger, any depression, even illnesses. Currently, I have a person who has headaches, so we're working on that. So physical, mental, emotional, all of these levels, it can be helped with. Yeah, I can
So
go much deeper if you like.
when we talk about that, are we talking about things like Reiki, chakra balancing? That's not part of it?
No. So all of these modalities are wonderful modalities. I have used them myself. So, and I've had success with those modalities, but I wanted more. And the more was that I kept finding myself back on square one. I didn't want to be back to square one. So that's where I wanted to have more. I did not know what more meant. I just knew I needed more. And through my own life experiences, which weren't the best, both with my family, myself, work, anywhere you look around in my life, I had conflict, I had no money coming in, etc., etc. It was very obvious that I had some issues that needed to be helped. That's why I was saying I needed more. With that said, having done a lot of holistic healing, giving seminars to workshops, writing down from the left brain to another, so rerouting my thinking from negative to positive, all helped a great deal. As it would have, I was asked to move from West Coast to East Coast, and that was significant because I really didn't want to leave the West Coast. But I ended up being on the West Coast again and linked up with a person who mentioned what she was doing. And yeah, I heard the words called resonance repatterning. I had no idea what that meant. She explained it to me. I heard the words. Again, it didn't sink in. So intuitively, I knew that this was the person I needed to stick with, and I stuck with her. So, and through that time, I learned an awful lot about myself, what was going on with me physically, emotionally, mentally, and I stuck with her for 3 years, and it made the biggest change in my life.
Wow.
And that is what the more was. So yeah.
You said something a moment ago I just want to take a look at for a second. If somebody says, I'm not making the money I feel I should be making, I don't have the abundance in my life that I feel I deserve, like you feel it inside of you, I should be doing better than this, I'm better than that.
Mm-hmm.
Is it very probable that you most likely have something you need to heal from?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So not only do you have to heal from, but here's the kicker. Most of what I healed from wasn't even mine. What I meant by that, it was created by my ancestors.
So
Yeah.
at this moment, I call it a woo alert. Woo alert, everybody. And I get you. Gabrielle, I got you on that. I understand fully.
Yeah.
I did a past life regression
Mm-hmm.
last summer for the first time ever, and
Yeah.
certainly saw connections to why I do what I do now. And it was beautiful. It was all good. But recently somebody told me, like, I feel like what I do in life, this and more in terms of media broadcast and everything, is my purpose. I've always done it since I was a kid, literally since I wanted to do it since I was 9. My first job came at 17. I haven't stopped ever since. I'm old. So I've been doing it a long time. So here's the thing though, somebody just mentioned it like in the last couple of days. In that past life regression, which was from 150 years ago, I see something now that was a connection to what I do now in this life. And I never saw that. And, for those of you that think, oh, yeah, okay, so you were in another life and you were under hypnosis and that, how could that be true? Because the emotion that I felt during that session, I couldn't have been making it up. My mind couldn't have been making it up. It was real. Like the things I were feeling, it was real. So I get what you're saying about from our ancestry blocking us in this lifetime. We can't even put the blame on our parents or anybody. It could be generations back, right?
Exactly. Let me clarify this just a little bit. What you felt in that session was real. Absolutely. Go with your intuition. No doubt about it. What I'm talking about, ancestral things, is the negative parts that you've heard inherited.
Yep.
So your ancestors, in my case, let's just speak about myself. The furthest back was 117 generations. Time that by, I think it's 20 years per generation. So you can go back how far back it was. Gives you a mind frame and where that actually took place. So my ancestor encountered something that they now interpreted as a negative. Let's use anger, because that's the most prevalent emotion, fear and anger. So that person had interpreted life as fear. So now that person's body is gone, but the energy that happens through reproduction keeps on getting passed forward. Hence me ending up with 113 generations.
Wow.
So with that said, did I have a lot of anger issues? Heck yeah. So we're used to pushing it down, and then we call it a hot button. Things happen in life, it triggers us. Sometimes we can push it back down or need time to cool off, or sometimes we just blow our stack. So, and then you look back at it, it's like, why am I like that? This was not necessary for me to blow up that way or react this way. So that's what I'm talking about. The inheritance way back when, moving forward to the present time. Can you imagine the potency, the intensity of the 113 generations walking within your body and you trying to control it, not be that person, not reacting? That was harsh. So, and it impacted my life to a great deal.
Wow. It'd be challenging enough if it was in your current generation that you're carrying that and dealing with it, even just one back. Now go back that lineage so many years
Right?
compounded through generation. It's a miracle that we function.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We function only because our lifestyle allows it that way. We don't have time to process our emotions or go back actually and say, let me think about this, work it through. We are not used to that. We weren't trained to do that from our parents. We were not given the time. The lifetime we're having is basically a rat race unless you want to hop off that hamster wheel.
Mm,
So the only option we have is to shove it down
yep,
somewhere in your body, wherever
yep,
it is.
yep.
And like I mentioned, it rears its ugly head. So once in a while, not only by me having, perked up, but your body also has enough and it gives you indications, hey, I'm not doing well. Take care of something, meaning internally.
Yep.
And for anger, it usually is the liver for primitive anger. Or yeah.
Mm. I call it the emotional backpack, where we just go along life and just throw that. I'll throw that in the backpack. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
want to deal with that when I need to unzip that and open that, and then you just keep
yeah,
going. But it
yeah.
comes to a point where now the backpack is so heavy that you
Heavy.
can't even function,
Right.
or your body will make up for that weight
Yeah.
by presenting some health challenges, and now you got
And
to take
more.
notice.
And more.
Mm,
So people reach out to many, many things to balance themselves out.
yeah.
Okay.
Ah.
So
Mm,
let's just take a few things, and this is not a ding on anybody, but it's something to consider. So when people run for 50 miles, or people do severe workouts, or people do anything severe, from alcohol to drugs, to name it, it doesn't matter. Too much sex, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's too much, it is a symptoms, as far as I know, to balance out the inner baggage that one carries,
mm.
because they can't deal with it. It's so heavy and they need a break from it. And so they reach out to anything that is suitable for that person, to balance it out.
So tell us about this thing called resonance repatterning. What is that?
So what you resonate with is what you are. In other words, people say, why am I always attracting certain amount of people? I don't want to single somebody out, but why am I always attracting somebody who is not emotionally available? And my answer to that is because you are not available either.
Mm,
Why am I attracting an angry husband? Let me tell you, let me talk about myself. So in that case, my second husband unfortunately had huge anger management. And that was a reason why things didn't work out eventually either. And then I thought about it, is I didn't want to go through all this again. So what do I need to look at myself to make things better for myself? And come to find out, I had anger issues too. So I actually had all this energy and I resonated with it, hence attracting that person.
wow. So so many times people will say, men or women, I don't know
Mhm.
what it is. I can't find any good people out there. You know, if you're a woman, you say this about, let's say if you're looking for a male partner. Yeah, there's no good guys out there. They're all the same. I don't know what it is. It's
Yeah.
impossible because you're attracting them
Mhm.
for a reason. So I
Yeah.
find it interesting that uh, the person you were with had anger issues, but then you also did.
Mhm.
Was that I don't want to say opposites attract because it wasn't. Was that
Mhm.
like-minded attract? Was that you think that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I'll give you another example. My mom, growing up, my mom was insecure and very insecure, but also
Mm,
very judgmental. And I swore to myself, I will never be such a person, judgmental or insecure. Yeah.
mm,
Because you see it from your parent and you learn from your parent. So as an adult in my 40s, it hit me. It's like, yeah, you are judgmental, perhaps not outwardly. I wouldn't say it to a person's face, but boy, in the internal voice was just as much there as my mom's.
Mm.
So, yeah. And as long as you carry it inside you and haven't made peace with it, you will attract that, whether you like it or not.
So I experience what you're saying
Mhm.
because my mom passed 7 years ago, and we have a great relationship, all good.
Yeah.
And then I was single after that,
Mhm.
and I noticed that almost every person I met, every woman had anxiety, like
Mhm.
elevated levels.
Mhm.
I'm like, well, what's going on here all the
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
And as I thought deeper about it, my mom was very overprotective, but I didn't view her as being anxious. But when I think about it, I was like, okay, they go kind of hand in hand. And I guess she was. So somehow I was attracting people with anxiety. I don't know what
Correct.
the reason is. It'd be I'm the, the nurturer, the helper, I'm there for you. I'm the
Mhm.
therapist, whatever it might be. Um, but it was one person after the next person after the next person. And to
Yeah.
what we're saying here, I think it ties back
Yeah.
to my mom. I think it does.
So, well, and your mom had it from her generation too, and that's what I come back to ancestry. And then let me loop around to the beginning when I said none of it was, most of it was not mine, and most of it, if we were to take a dive into your ancestry, 90 some percent at least isn't even yours or was your mom's.
Mm,
However, the thing is, as we progress and we procreate, I pass it on to my children. And when I release the energy from myself, it goes backwards. So all the non-existent ancestors, they benefit from it, but also my children.
mm.
So, and my grandchildren in this case as well, because they had it passed on to their grandchildren. In other words, instead of having 113, which I had, my kids had 114 and my grandkids would have had 115. So the power was pretty potent. Well, now that I took care of that level of anger to a certain degree, they don't have to contend with it.
So I want to use this analogy, and you tell me if I'm getting this right. When
Mm-hmm.
you work on this, whatever situation it is, let's say you identify it's anger. You got challenges with anger, and it's going coming back in your lineage. When
Mm-hmm.
you eradicate it from your life,
Mm-hmm.
does it almost like the proverbial, you see the cartoons back in the day where people would be standing on a rug and whew, somebody pulls the rug and they're like, and everything, flies all over the place, people flying left and right, or even, even plates on a table where you pull them and are you eradicating it? If you take care of it, are you
Mm-hmm.
getting rid of it going all the way back to the beginning of your generational lineage?
Yes, that's the beauty about it. And that's
Wow.
when I said I wanted more. I wanted more meaning from to the source,
Mm,
not just placating it now and band-aiding. That's what I called it, band-aiding. It helped
sure.
for a while, but it was band-aiding, and then I was back to square one. I didn't want to be back to square one. I
Mm,
wanted to have it taken care of. Now, I don't want to give the impression that with one session everything is taken care of. It's not quite like that because it took some time to layer up, meaning
mm,
the situations, it piles up like crushed cars above each other. And we would be taking care of one crushed car after another. And as we layer or break it down in those terms, eventually you feel so calm that you see what's happening out there and you realize, oh, I had reacted so much harsher on that one, and I feel so much calmer instead.
mm. Well, you can't expect, one 60 or 90-minute session to clear out 115 generations of a type of trauma, right?
Yeah, so it's a little detailed. It, Let me go a little deeper about the resonance repatterning. One part of this particular repatterning is that we find out when it all came to the surface. Basically, I'm asking how old you were, who was involved, were you female, male, how many generations back did it occur? And yeah, and then we release it as far as back that the situation. You could tell, well, as you were telling me, you were meeting women who were very anxious. Okay, then I'm asking you is like, this is the situation. We would connect, we would ask, please release anything that is connected to that moment that you explained to me. And we would go from there. And your higher mind, your higher self really is what tells me, guides me with kinesiology to go to find out what the source was, what your thought process is, what we need to release, how you felt, what you believe about yourself. And then we release everything and bring coherence back.
Can you actually pinpoint many times in going back here where it came from?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So if the body and the mind allows me, then I can pinpoint it very accurately. Sometimes it's to benefit and sometimes it's not a benefit for anyone to know other than perhaps me. So let me give you an example. I had a client who was whose parents were in an organization in the eastern part of Germany at one point, and he as my client as a child was brought into a what he called school. I don't want to say too much, so to keep some privacy of it. But what it is, Eastern Germany in the 50s and 60s, parents belonged to a certain organization and the child was brought to a school. And he now has all these issues by not trusting people. So we worked on that. And I knew a lot more. And I asked him if he wanted to know. And he said no. And so we left it at that. So whatever came through was good enough for him to know, and he was fine with that. And then we released it. Did I know more? Yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gratified to know that more and more people are looking for more now. What do I mean by that? It seems that we're open to a little more spiritual view of things.
Yeah.
And if you look at, I read something very recently in one particular religion, doesn't matter what it is, and I'm not talking about religion here, although you can interpret it any way you want, but one particular religion has seen an increase in members, followers of 40%. To me, in the last year, what that says to me is we're looking for something. We don't know what it is, whether it's spiritualism, religion, whatever, but we're searching for something because traditional means, call it Western medicine, going to the doctor, you're not feeling right. They throw you, a pill, doesn't go to the root cause, like you said, takes care of the symptoms. And it's like, all right, I'm putting more chemicals in my body that has side effects, but I still don't feel good. Well, maybe it's coming from generations back. We're out of time. It's a fascinating conversation today.
What?
Yes.
Fast.
Yes. The energy healing. Yeah, I've been a fan of. It's changed my life over the last number of years. But looking back at generations, I'm a firm believer in that as well. But you've shed a lot more light on it, how far back this stuff can go.
Yeah.
And it's holding us back. That's the other part of it.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
How do we, Gabrielle, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you have to turn inward, not outward, inward.
And then the other part of that is whether we want to admit it or not, whether we're aware of it or not.
That's the tough part.
We're afraid to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even I had a conversation with somebody recently. We're going through some challenges, and I said, have you ever sat in silence? Just sat in silence and thought. And they thought for a second. They said, no. I said, you really need to do that. Get working on that. I don't judge anybody. You don't know until you know. But so much can come up just from the quiet. How do we connect with you? I know this is somewhat deep for many, but how do we connect with you so we can get a better idea if it's a right fit to work with somebody, or just even answer questions.
Yeah, so the best way to do that is to text me, not call me, text me with my phone number. Do you want me to say it online?
If you're good giving it out, please do.
All right, area code 206-498-9094. Yeah.
Thank you for your transparency and for sharing
You're
everything. We learn from others' stories, and yours is pretty amazing once you figured that out, and you even connected it to your family.
Mm-hmm. That was a huge plus.
206-498-9094. Gabrielle, thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much.
Lots to talk about next time we get together. Looking forward to it.
Right? Thank you.
Oh, thank you. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.